You may recognize the name Jade via the girl group Little Mix, who were basically the biggest girl group of the 2010s. There wasn't really a huge amount of competition at the time. There were K-pop groups starting to break through in the late 2010s, so you could argue some of those would rival the popularity of Little Mix, but I think pretty much for a good while, particularly in the UK, there was like no competition in that realm at all. But of course, as with every girl group and every boy band, they always have to break away and do their own solo stuff. It's like a contractual agreement or something. Like they all have to do their own thing. They can't just stay together. They all bloody do it, and often it's not really that great. Like, you might look at like Justin Timberlake and Beyonce and think, wow, their careers were incredible. Harry Styles even too. But they're kind of anomalies. Like most of the time, these groups break away and they have solo careers, and a lot of the ones that do attempt it aren't too good. Like, I really do hope nobody out there actually thinks any of the Girls Aloud solo careers were genuinely good. Like, I do worry for you if you think because they were friggin' not good at all. But Jade and many of the other Little Mix members have broke away doing solo. Jesy Nelson, attempted it, I guess. She tried, bless her. But Jade actually is coming through here. And yeah, fair play. This is a very, very good debut pop album. I'm impressed. This might be a rare case where it doesn't even feel like she has needed the backing of the fame, the prior fame of your previous group to actually stand on your own 2 feet. Because I know Beyonce and JT broke massive and, went their own way and transcended their groups. But I think initially it felt like, that's the person from NSYNC. That's the person from Destiny's Child. I feel like Jade doesn't have that sort of like monkey on her back. It feels immediately that she's broken away and her voice is standing out on its own. And honestly, if you were to listen to Little Mix and their songs, like, you might not even recognize her voice that much from the band themselves. Like, this is very impressive how she's managed to do this. And she did it in such a creative way too, with the lead single Angel of My Dreams, which admittedly came out a long time ago. I don't particularly like it when artists do this kind of thing where you've got like staggered singles over the course of like a year, or maybe even longer in the case of this song. I think it's been like up to like 13, 14, 15 months since that song came out. It's been ages. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily please me, but I think, maybe building hype, building momentum is important for, your solo album to break through in that kind of way. I don't really know, whatever. But still, the song itself is actually really good and feels very unique in how it's structured compared to your typical radio pop song. That the verses are kind of like almost hyper pop in a way, and then it builds into this really like sort of angelic, excuse the pun, chorus where her voice really shines through and it sounds great. Perhaps it is the sign of the times that she's gone for this sound, because this particular sound has been very popular over the past few years. It was very much a 2010s sort of tail end 2010s thing where it was bubbling in the underground, and anybody that paid attention to like PC music at the time would know that that's why this sound has broken so popular. But nowadays this is more of a common thing you will hear more popular artists attempt. And yeah, it's very cool. The key change at the end as well sounds fantastic, and I'm a bit of a sucker for not liking key changes, but she actually has a really good voice that pulls this off very well, which is one thing I always say about key changes. Like, you need to really, really pull it off if you're going to go for it. And yeah, I think she really does. And also the lyrics are pretty interesting as well. The idea of kind of poking into the sort of life of somebody who has fame and taking that apart, and like, the camera's kind of always on you, that kind of thing. I think there's even a bit of like a Simon Cowell diss on this track, a little tiny reference to that. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting song that kind of takes apart the industry a little bit in a really cool way. So it's got it all going for it. It Girl is also doubling down on that sound that I mentioned. harder, way harder. I mean, again, it has this kind of off-kilter structure where the verses aren't quite as in your face, and then the chorus kind of breaks into this breakdown that feels like a Slater song. Like, it doesn't really feel like you'd expect it based on the first track, although again, the influences are coming through on Angel of My Dreams, but this song I think just kind of goes into it even further. It sounds pretty cool. It's again kind of got that like bossy, bitchy, badass, cunty sound, which sometimes can get a little overly repetitive. I feel like a lot of songs I feel like I come across nowadays sound like this. There was that Adele EP that I listened to not that long ago. Again, has a similar sound. Feels like I'm kind of hearing a lot of stuff that sound like this. I don't think necessarily Jade adds, you know, an amazing sound, like idea to this particular sound, but it's still fun. But the album is impressive in that it kind of delves across many different sounds, and the palette is just constantly hitting you with different colors, left, right, center. Like, it's just not sticking to one thing. And again, for a debut pop album, it feels quite brave and out of the ordinary to go this like imaginative with your sound. Like, she is very willing to take risks across the entirety of this album. She goes for a more dreamier pop sound on the track Plastic Box, which is lovely. Again, she seems to have the voice that can be a chameleon and really fit all these different types of beats. You just wouldn't expect the transitions from track to track to work this well. And I think there are plenty of artists that might try this and it feels a bit flat, and doesn't really land. I didn't listen to the whole of that Selena Gomez album that came out earlier this year, but the tracks I did hear just felt like they were kind of a mishmash of ideas, and they didn't really land, or they didn't really stick on any particular sound, and they didn't really pull off each of the sounds it tried. But Jade, I think, is actually somebody that you can point to and go, hey, you're versatile, but you're not versatile for the sake of it. You're actually doing it well. Fantasy is this kind of new disco-y track that really feels upbeat and fun. The verses in particular remind me of something that like Sophie Ellis Bextor would do in her prime days, honestly. And then also, I'm feeling quite a lot of Jessie Ware coming through on this, particularly in the vocals, particularly again in that kind of expensive, lavish, dreamy sound that does kind of cuddle this song. But yeah, the last bit of the track, I kind of wish it went on a little bit longer, because that part, the instrumental amps up and it sounds so good. This is a fantastic track, rivaling again Angel of My Dreams for being a really strong single for this entire album. Really good. Saboteur is one of the catchiest tracks here for me, easily. Absolutely really sticky chorus on this one. You've also got Lip Service, which feels like it's kind of doing a bit of an homage to Ariana in a good way as well. Just those vocal runs feel very Ariana to me. Then you've also got Headache, which is this like kooky, quirky, silly track that feels very self-aware. The chorus is very goofy and silly in a fun way. Maybe that Confidence Man collaboration rubbed off her a little bit when she was recording this track. Obviously that collaboration doesn't make this album, but yeah, it feels kind of got that like spirit living in it. Glitch feels again a little bit out there. With the chorus, it's really going for something that feels very strange, and the transition on this track I think is a little more awkward. I appreciate what she's attempting to go for, but I don't actually think this execution is at its best. I just don't think that chorus particularly works great for me. And then the bloody Stop in the Name of Love sample on a Don't Break My Heart or whatever that one is, it feels very tacked on. Like, I don't know, I appreciate it again. I like the kind of reference and homage, but that sample feels a little cheap to me. So yeah, there are definitely flaws amongst the track list. There are some moments I'm not quite head over heels for. There are some tracks that I think are very, very good. And yeah, maybe again, some of those weaker ones I mentioned, could you have cut it off and just made it like a 10 to 12 track album? Probably. 14 isn't bad. 14 isn't, you know, I can't stand 14 track albums. I'm not going that far. But yeah, I at least appreciate that this album does shoot for something pretty impressive for the most part. Like, it is going for new styles, new fresh ideas compared to what she's done previously, and that's why I think it just kind of stands on its own 2 feet. It doesn't feel like I'm listening to somebody that used to be in a really famous band then going solo. I think that's a very, you know, very high praise, honestly. Like, I think a lot of the time it does feel like artists are doing that, and yet I can't really point to that here. And even without the comparisons to anything Little Mix ever did, this is just a really fun album. Like, honestly, really, really fun. You're getting some, like, exceptional vocals, too. Like, I don't know if the girl group format just restricted her voice, because I just don't really ever remember hearing a song by them and ever thinking, like, any one of them stood out as being this amazing singer. They weren't bad singers. They're not bad by any means, but like, there are some tracks on this album where she is really singing, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, really impressed with this. I'm a fan. I'm definitely going to go with a 7 out of 10. I think even maybe some elements that I was critical of in this review could even potentially grow on me going further down the line. I also feel like, the track Unconditional was a track I liked, but again, I feel like maybe with more listens it could stand out even more. But yeah, as for now, I think this is a very good album. Definitely one of the best pop albums of the year too. It's not been a great year for pop music. There hasn't been like a lot of huge releases like there were in 2024. But that was a bit of an anomaly of a year. You don't usually get that most years. But yeah, I think this is definitely up there with one of the best pop releases. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hopefully you've checked it out. Hopefully you agree with me as well. Do subscribe for more reviews and have a good day. Goodbye.